Now, we're now just 8 days from the Fox News Republican primary debate in Milwaukee. So where do things stand? Well, a voter in Iowa summed it up this way. He said he likes both Trump and DeSantis. And while he has some concerns about Trump's electability, he said the more indictments that Trump gets, the better his numbers do. Well, what does that mean? Governor Ron DeSantis joins me now to respond from Tallahassee. Governor, it's good to see you tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. That does seem to be, so far at least, the inescapable truth. So if I'm you, how do I convince the GOP voters that while these indictments are obviously political, lawfare, I guess you could call it, that you're still the one who's most electable? How do you make that argument?
Well, because I think going forward, the question really is what are we going to do about all this, Laura? And what we need to do is get a president, obviously can beat Biden, but that could actually end the weaponization of federal power through the DOJ, the FBI. So, for example, with me as president, on day one, Christopher Wray gets sent packing. You're going to see the DOJ cleared out. We are going to ensure a single standard of justice in this country again. And I can say that with credibility because I've done that in the state of Florida. We've drained the swamp in here. We've gotten rid of negligent election supervisors in South Florida. We've removed 2 different progressive prosecutors funded by Soros who were not enforcing the law. So I've shown an ability to take action and get the job done. And as the president, I am going to do the same thing. Look, our country is in decline for a number of different reasons, economic, cultural, but part of the reason we're in decline is because our constitutional system is totally out of whack. We need to get it back in order. I'm the guy that knows how to do it, but you got to be disciplined. You got to be focused. You got to have attention to detail because the swamp is not going to give up its power voluntarily.
So do you think that if Trump were to win, that he wouldn't fire Wray or wouldn't try to reform the FBI? It seems like he has a personal interest in really doing that at this point, no?
Well, he had 3 years to fire Christopher Wray, and he didn't fire him. And remember, I went to the rallies in 2016, Laura. You remember them. Lock her up about holding Hillary accountable. And then 2 weeks after the election, he said, never mind that I said that, and let her off the hook. And so I think if you look at, and I give him credit, even though we're competing for the great things he did do, but one of the things he did not do was drain the swamp. I mean, the swamp got worse in his 4 years, and you had people like Wray, you had people in power who were not getting the job done. You got to take very swift action, and you got to make it happen.
Now, there are GOP strategists, I think this was a piece in The Hill, that are predicting on the Senate side and on the House side a turnout disaster if Trump doesn't become the nominee, Governor, saying that many of his core supporters, who are estimated to make up 25 to 35% of the party base, will take their ball and go home. Now, we saw this somewhat in Georgia during those runoff elections, Governor. Are you concerned about that, and how will you spur turnout if indeed you win the nomination?
Well, I would also say 2022 in Georgia, you saw Governor Brian Kemp win a thumping re-election, better than a lot of people were predicting. Donald Trump opposed him throughout that election, even suggested Stacey Abrams would be a better governor. And then in Florida, we won re-election by a record margin for a Republican, over 1.5 million votes. Donald Trump attacked me 3 days before the midterm election. And so I think when you're talking about voters in our party base, that may be a problem if you nominate some Rockefeller Republican, but it's not going to be a problem if you nominate somebody like me who has a proven record of delivering on America First policies. And how many people get elected, they overpromise and they underdeliver? I can say with credibility, I met all the promises I made to the people of Florida. In fact, I over-delivered on my promises, whether it was holding China accountable, illegal immigration, education, all these things we said we'd do, we got done.
Yeah, one of the best things you did, Governor, was send those migrants up to Martha's Vineyard. That still goes down as one of the greatest moments because it showed the elites for who they really are, not compassionate. They revolving doored them out of there so fast. So that was one of the best smaller moments, but that actually mattered. Governor, Chris Christie, he's out there, sticking his chest out saying, like, I'm #2 now in New Hampshire. You worried about him?
No, look, I think that at the end of the day, we're doing what we need to do on the ground in Iowa and New Hampshire. We're going to be back there this weekend, and we're going to get the job done. I think a lot of these guys are, doing this and doing that. We're going to be able to get on the debate stage, and we're going to be able to hash it out. And I think I'll be able to show that I'm the guy that's got the vision. I'm the guy that can get the job done electorally. And then most important, actually get all this stuff done, because we've been talking about so many of this, all this stuff from illegal immigration and the border, dealing with China, all this stuff. Now is the time to do it. And if we don't do it in 2024, I don't think we're going to be able to get the job done in our lifetime. So this is a key election so that we can reverse the decline of this country and give us a new birth of freedom.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.